What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show, the Nebraska side of things, of course. Welcome into another preview episode as Nebraska takes down Maryland this past weekend, 34-31 on the road to get to 5-1, receive their top 25 ranking this week. Although they were in the Play the Fight Song poll last week, check us out, Play the Fight Pod on all platforms if you haven't before. They are fully in the AP poll now. Big time matchup this week, back on the road in Minneapolis with the Minnesota Golden Gophers. A good chance for Nebraska to get to 6-1 against a Gophers team that's a little bit underperforming. If you've never been a part of the show before, make sure to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button if you're a fan of Nebraska football and you care about the team, because these previews focus upon the opponents. You have your thoughts, your opinions. There's enough media coverage out there of Nebraska. We'll briefly share those thoughts, but these focus upon the opponents. I'm going to tell you about Minnesota, what to look out for, who their star players are, what they're going to try and accomplish based off their film and other factors and rankings. And we'll break all of those down on the show tonight. Want to give a special shout out to one of our great partners, Full Ride Vintage Gear. Check them out today, fullridevintagegear.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on your orders. Officially licensed Nebraska gear. Check out their shirts, super comfortable material, awesome designs. You've got some throwback designs. Wear them out to the games. Super good stuff. So check them out today, fullridevintagegear.com. Use code PTFS at checkout. Those small Nebraska brand, support them. Check them out today. Shout out Full Ride Vintage Gear. Okay, before we get into the Maryland recap briefly, we will go into the Minnesota preview after that. We do need to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's one of the bigger elephants. I mean, circus-sized elephant, and that is Matt Rhule in the Penn State opening. I never really get to share these thoughts because, thankfully, we've stayed out of news and storylines like this so far this year. I mean, it feels very Nebraska to have a storyline like this out. But Matt Rhule, obviously in a lot of head coaching conversations for the new opening at Penn State after they fired James Franklin. What a 10-day period for that program. All of the stuff going around, the rumorings, everybody's got a source. And I got a damn source on this show. I'm just going to talk about it the way I see it. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. And you also let me know your score prediction for Minnesota. Maybe wrap it all up in one, because if you hit the score prediction on the head, you get a free cap from our great partner over at No Rivals. But Matt Rhule is in a lot of head coaching talks for his alma mater, Penn State. He's very good friends with the AD. Everybody kind of knows the story by now. Came out today, and he really didn't tickle the fan base's feathers on whether or not he was all in on Nebraska. Really just said, I love it here. It's an elite place. I want to turn this place into a monster. But it's really not like, oh, I'm not entertaining those offers at this time. He made a business decision, and that business decision was, I'm going to string this along so I get a massive contract upgrade from Troy Dannon if I do want to stay. But I think there is another PTSD style punting in Nebraska fans' heads of like, oh, he's gone. Just because things haven't gone right the last decade here in many cases. So why would this one be any different? So it's a little bit of PTSD, but I do think Rhule has a little bit more invested in this program than what people are maybe giving credit for. You know, his wife has multiple businesses around Lincoln, started his podcast. Maybe that's to build his brand to go elsewhere. I just don't think if you're Penn State and you're at the position you're at, Matt Rhule is the guy you would go after. Because in my mind, we go after him because he's a culture program builder. And the stage we were at is exactly what we needed. And people love Matt Rhule, as they should. He's an awesome head coach and he really embraces the program well. So Nebraska responds to him well. But is that the stage Penn State's at? Are they at the stage where they need to rebuild their culture, or are they 9-3, 10-2 playing in the college football playoff right now? It's similar, eerily similar to where we were at with Bo. And then we go hire Mike Riley, who I guess on a very lesser temperament with a lesser of a resume could be considered a culture program builder. And it didn't go very well. However, that happened. So maybe people are right. Maybe Matt Rhule will go to Penn State. In my mind, I truly don't think that's going to be the move. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they go elsewhere for it. I think they're going to go find an O coordinator or D coordinator from Ohio State, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, places like that. I really, truly don't believe Matt Rhule is going to be the move for that program. And it's not any bad reflection on Matt Rhule. I just don't think he fits the narrative outside of people just expecting the worst to happen to Nebraska. So that's my brief thoughts. I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments on if Rhule's gone or not. We got a big time matchup this weekend, so we got to put that on the back burner because Hopefully this doesn't take away from the focus of the team, and it ain't going to take away from the focus of the show today. We are here to preview Minnesota, but first we got to talk Maryland. Nebraska rolls into Maryland, wins 34-31 in a really back and forth, ugly points football game. And similar to Michigan State, there was that stretch where Maryland really controlled the game. And that's what hurt Nebraska. That's where they took the lead. It was the 17 unanswered points starting right before the half, really leading into that early to mid-third quarter. Maryland took control of that game, especially in their run game. But Nebraska fought back. You got to give them credit. Not a lot of teams can lose the turnover game 3-0 and still win the football game. Nebraska did that this weekend. And again, we've said this multiple times this year. I've seen a Nebraska team lose that game doing what they did, and they didn't. So maybe the tides are turning, and it feels like that tide is definitely turning after it's happened multiple times this season. But at the end of the day, 5-1 is 5-1, and we'll take it. We'll never apologize for it. First game-winning drive in a long time for Nebraska. I thought we were really efficient on offense all day. I didn't see a lot that stood out to me outside of the turnovers that were like, all right, we got to clean that up. Emmett was really good. I thought it was an awesome confidence-building week for him, heading back home to Minneapolis this weekend, which is a hell of a storyline to follow. But I think Dylan is the big-time point of emphasis for people to be like, oh, I'm tired of him. I saw a lot of overreaction mid-game of, man, I'm starting to get a little wear and tear on Dylan. Like, he's still pretty elite. He made a couple of mistakes for sure, but I think the mistakes he made, especially within the picks, are pretty easily fixable. I thought there was one. The pick six was an incredibly poorly run route. The throwaway ball that got picked off, throw it into the 30th row, Dylan. Show your arm talent. Don't ever just leave it up to chance. I think he kind of left that one up to chance, thinking maybe somebody will go make a play and I'll look like a hero. Just throw it into the third row or something. And then the one hitch route pick, we've seen him make that mistake before. He's got to clean those up. That one's a little less easily fixable, but definitely something that he needs to fix in his game. But the other two, I really think, can be taken away pretty easily within some practice fixes. I talked about Maryland's talent all last week. If you didn't watch the preview show last week, I had Nebraska winning. Pretty close game, 23-17, I believe my score prediction was. Points were there, but I told you how talented Maryland was on paper, and they were. I thought a lot of what we talked about on the show happened in the game. Outside of the turnovers, I didn't think Nebraska was going to turn over 3 times, but that's where they were. And Nebraska ended up winning a close one. Everybody can see Washington's talent. Maryland's quarterback, he is an absolute stud, 6'5" freshman. You can see the potential that I saw going into that game. But like I said, a win's a win. Let's leave that game there. I thought there was a lot of bright spots. Nyziah Hunter was awesome too. Another long touchdown run from him. I thought he was good throughout the game. Couple of really big catches down the stretch that he made. So he's kind of emerging as kind of the impact over the last 2 weeks that we thought Dane Key would have consistently, although Dane Key had a nice game too. But Nyziah Hunter is kind of putting Husker Nation on his back as the wide receiver that's getting a lot of more touches than we expected him to. Jacory Barney almost seems like a little banged up, like they're asking too much of him in the kick return game, or the punt return game, I should say, as well as the screen game and much. But he's just getting picked up by a couple of other good athletes and options they have on the outside. Luke Lindenmeyer, awesome performance once again. And on the defensive side of things, I thought you did enough. I thought there was a struggle there, and I would have liked to get to the quarterback a couple more times. But this is a great opportunity this week to kind of enhance that feeling from the fans and get home a little bit more on the defensive side of things. Spoiler alert. But that is the recap of the Maryland game. Let's leave that one there. Let's go into Minnesota. Minnesota is a game that's had Nebraska's number. It's a team that's had Nebraska's number, I should say. Haven't beat them in the last 5 matchups with them, but it's a good program overall. We'll kind of go into each detail. We'll tell you about each of their position groups, as well as how it's going to affect Nebraska and how the plan will be, in my mind, based off the film and statistics behind Minnesota, what the game will look like. We've been pretty accurate this year, so make sure, like I said, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button. Shop our great partner. Shout out to our other great partner, No Rivals. ShopNoRivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout there as well for free shipping on your order. Best hats in collegiate sports. Got the Herbie rope hat on from No Rivals. A nice little breathability on the back. Got a couple designs behind it you should see. Check them out today. ShopNoRivals.com. Check out their Husker hats. There's a ton of them. You have a chance to win a free Husker hat by dropping your score prediction for this Maryland game down in the comments. If you hit it on the nose, you get a free No Rivals cap. presented by Play the Fight Song. If the score prediction you think is already in the comments, you unfortunately cannot have that one. So one guess per person. Change up the score if you have to, if you're late to the game, but make sure you drop that score prediction below. Shout out No Rivals, shopnorivals.com today. Use code PTFS at checkout for free shipping. All right, Minnesota. Where's this program at? They're 4-2. They have a loss at Cal, 27-14, and that's a little bit of a weird scenario. And if you look at Cal and you're like, God, didn't that whole team go play at Indiana or other places? Yes, but still a very talented football team with a couple of good wins on their record. They did get absolutely blasted by San Diego State. So I think it's just a part of that college football parity week to week that the sport is becoming. And then their other loss on the road at Ohio State, the number one team in the country, 42-3. They really had no chance in that game from the start of it. 2-1 in the Big Ten right now. Their 2 Big Ten wins are against last week against Purdue at home. They won that one 27-20. And then they beat Rutgers just a few weeks ago, 31-28 in another close battle. 4-2 versus 5-1 on a Friday night. This is Fox College Football Friday. Weather expecting is a little rainy. Could be some scattered thunderstorms to start this one, and then should be nicer weather for the second half. So the forecast says, however, it is the Midwest and up north. They're as lost as we are when it comes to a 4-day out weather prediction. Going into the all-time series, Minnesota leads this one, and this is a one that kind of catches Husker fans by surprise if they don't know it. Minnesota leads the all-time series 37-25-2. It's by far one of the better records against Nebraska as the current Big Ten has overall. A lot of those matchups came early 1900s when Minnesota won 7 national titles. However, Minnesota has had the number since we came into the Big Ten. Granted, we haven't been Nebraska since we come into the Big Ten, but 5-8 against the Golden Gophers since joining. First matchup there was 2011. The last Nebraska win, you may ask, came in 2018. Yes, with Scott Frost as the head coach of Nebraska. That is the last time we beat him. Had a few losses since then, including Rhule's debut. The spoiler, they put on Rhule's debut 13-10 in that really, really ugly Thursday night matchup in Minneapolis. The Huskers returned for a chance at revenge this week, and they line up as a 6.5-point favorite. People might be like, I just don't know why it's there. Minnesota doesn't look very good. I haven't heard anything about Minnesota. Well, 1, Minnesota's the home team. 2, the matchup kind of favors, just based off the past and the pro-style offense Minnesota runs, to really slow the game down and keep this close. I honestly think 6.5 should have been closer to 4, like Circa Sports had it. So the line will move throughout the week. I think I've seen it up to 7 or 7.5 at this point, even then. Their head coach, Minnesota's led by PJ Fleck. Everybody knows this bald head. 9th season, 58-39 overall as Minnesota's head coach, 33-36 in the Big Ten. It's already his 9th year here. He came in from Western Michigan, where he made that team a real competitor in the landscape of college football. But I got to be honest, as really Minnesota fans, he's a likable guy, right? And that's because I really think he gets a lot out of what Minnesota is as a football program and what they are as an athletics program. I think he does a good job recruiting. His players love playing for him. He's a fiery guy. He loves the spotlight to be on him. He really enhances that spotlight whenever it is on him. But they're always good under PJ Fleck for that one crazy upset a year. And I'm not saying that fits this scenario. I wouldn't say Nebraska being ranked 25th at 5-1 would feel like the world's biggest upset, but it would be. But they're always good for that one blue blood program or high-tiered program to come in Minnesota to beat them. Last year, that was USC at the time that they played. And they're just a gritty football team. They're going to run. They're going to control the clock. They're going to hit you. They're big. They're physical. He coaches a good football team. Like, as much as you may hate PJ Fleck because he is that style of coach that if you're an opponent, you would hate him, he does a really good job at Minnesota, in my opinion. And they are always in for a dogfight. And this matchup this Friday, I really think is going to fit right into that dogfight territory. Let's head into the offense. Before we get into their offense, let's look at their general outlook. It's a pro-style offense, as everybody knows. The people are automatically going to think run first when they think Minnesota. That's what PJ Fleck has done in the past. That's what Minnesota's done as a program for however long. Not so much this year. It's about a 60-40 pass split in favor of the pass. 60% of the time they've been throwing the ball. That's what they've done well this year. Their fan base, I was reading through some message boards, are really shocked still through week 5 or week 7, that is, about how they've struggled to run the football. they've thrown it decently well. Their quarterback's still young. They've got some young outside talent. They've got some experienced outside talent that just hasn't produced enough to what they should have been. But overall, like the run game lacking is kind of a red flag in Minnesota fans' minds, as it should be. But in my overall, I'd say the offense as a whole is just underperforming for what I believe they have. And that starts with the quarterback position. Their quarterback, Drake Lindsey, 60.1% completion on the year, over 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks. That's a very similar split to Raiola. And he's been sacked 8 times this season. Stands at 6'5", 230 pounds. He comes out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. He's just a redshirt freshman. He's been all right this year. He's a little bit of a night and day difference, I would say, and you probably agree from what Nebraska has seen. I think a lot of what I've talked about in these previous previews has been the running ability or the extending play ability out of the quarterbacks Nebraska has seen, and that's Aiden Childs, Bryce Underwood, even Malik Washington last week with Maryland, and Brendan Sorsby. Those guys can run the football. Like if a play gets extended, it may not all be designed runs. Some of them are, but if play gets extended, they get out of the pocket really well. There's a lot of rollout schemes involved. This is night and day different. Drake Lindsey is as pocket passer as we've seen. I mean, it's closer to Houston Christian and Ben Finley over at Akron than it is the other 4 I just named off. So by far the most pocket presence out of the Power 4 opponents that we've had this season, which in my mind benefits Nebraska because where we struggled against the run. But he's a big dude. You can throw the ball on target, really good at those corner and comeback routes, which I think you're going to see pretty often when they do throw the football. But the Minnesota wide receivers have actually struggled this year in contested catches. Like those one-on-one balls that you get to throw up and have a chance at, they haven't come down with them. I think his numbers could be more inflated if they were to, because when they throw the ball downfield, they've really missed some opportunities throughout the season. And Lindsey's thrown a good ball when he's done so. I think the priority here is you got to get to him and you got to hit him. We talked about last week, Williams came up and he had a lot of pressures, really high grade out of PFF, just couldn't get home. This is a great opportunity for those pressures to finally turn into some sack numbers for Nebraska. I think hopefully they can get around closer to 3 or 4 sacks this week compared to the 1 we had last week, which came extremely early on the game and in an almost a blown-up style play. Running back position, it's Minnesota. I told you they struggled running the ball. They're still going to want to establish the run, and I really think on this game, especially, make this point, a little check mark from YouTube, whatever it has. This is a very highlighted part of this preview. I think Minnesota is going to really want to slow this game down. I think that's their recipe for success against Nebraska. I think they're going to run the football more than they have throughout the rest of the season because that's where Nebraska struggled. That's, at the end of the day, what Minnesota wants to do, and they just haven't been able to do it. On the flip side, I think it's a great opportunity for Minnesota to get their ground game going a little bit as they head further down the line in Big Ten play. You know, who's going to be running the football, you may ask? It's the dual-headed monster here. Darius Taylor is going to be their starter on the left. We've seen him before, 55 carries, 205 yards, only a 3.7 average, and no touchdowns. That's their starting running back. So when I talk about their struggles, you can really see it when they come down to their statistics. He's in year 3. He's out of Detroit, only 6 foot, 210 pounds. He's a Big Ten style back, right? Like he can run through you. He's more than he'll run around you. He has that ability, though. It's kind of similar to a Walmart version of Justice Haynes from what we've seen. I honestly think he can be as good as Justice Haynes. It just hasn't been there this year, Minnesota fans. And I think you're as confused as I am after watching this team. But I think he'll be better than his averages against Nebraska because that's really what we've given up. I think it's really important for the linebackers to wrap this week. I think we have to see a little bit better run fits from Guthrie, from Buford, from Singleton. They struggled a little bit last week, and that's when Maryland was really getting downhill mid-third quarter and really controlling the clock in that game. I think Minnesota's going to try and do that all game long. On the right side, Fame Ejiboy is how you say that name. It's not Fame. It's Fame Ejiboy. Hell of a player, young, a little inexperienced. He's getting more reps throughout the season. 48 carries, 225 yards for a 4.7 average and a score. He didn't have any carries last week. So Minnesota fans, let me know in the comments if he's injured. I couldn't find anything saying that he was. I think that he just didn't get any reps because of the situation of the game, 27-20 game where a pick six really sealed it. but he's a good player. And I think you will see him this week. I think it's going to be kind of a running back by committee because of what they're going to try and do against this Nebraska defense. But he is good. A lot of high ceiling, high potential. He's a physical runner. He plays bigger than he is. He only stands at 6 foot, but he is still gaining that coach's trust to get him more reps. And they're excited about what he can be down the line. But he is only a redshirt freshman. On the outside, this is the Maryland last week. We really had to dive into these guys because of what they wanted to accomplish, what they wanted to do, and really fit the narrative of Maryland. For Minnesota, it's kind of one and the same, but there's two guys I want to highlight individually here, not just the plethora of the options. And starting that off, it's Lateef Brockington, 23 receptions on the year for 253 yards. It breaks down to an 11 average with 2 scores. This is wide receiver 1 here. And the stats may not jump off the page, but he gets a lot of action within their screen games. He gets a lot of action within their downfield passing or across the middle zone beaters. They're going to try and get the ball to Brockington. He is their leading receiver by, I believe it's almost 8 or 9 targets. And he's really what this wide receiver 1 position for Minnesota is what's killed Nebraska in their previous matchup. So you got to lock in on him. In my mind, this is the Sierra Wright matchup for the week. He's a hell of a player, and he's got a good presence on the outside. The other option, wide receiver 2, which is still very good, is the Miami of Ohio transfer Javon Tracy, 16 receptions, 253 yards for 15.8 average and 2 touchdowns. A little bit more of a downfield target, right? Well, they want to throw it to him down the sideline, get him those one-on-one balls. He's missed a couple of those contested catches I've talked about earlier, but he's still really good. He creates a lot of chaos. He's really good if we do rush the quarterback and he has to extend and get outside of the pocket. Javon Tracy's found himself in situations where he's been open late in the play to really give an advantage to this Minnesota offense. The offensive line, before we go into the defense, kind of wrapping everything up as a whole, they've struggled within the run game. We saw the statistics, right? I told you about their struggles and what they've wanted to do and haven't been able to do to this point. But they've been really good at keeping Lindsey upright, I will say. They've only been sacked on 4% of their dropbacks, which they pass the ball 60% of the time. So it's a little bit higher of a number than majority in college football. 4% of your dropbacks resulting in sacks gets you the 44th ranking in college football. And you may say that's kind of middle of the road. To put that in perspective, on the Nebraska side of thing, Nebraska is 8% of our dropbacks. We've been sacked. And that ranks 103rd. So it's really hard for anybody to be like, hey, Minnesota's middle of the pack in this because we are way far behind based upon the statistical rankings of college football. Their defense is good. They're a little bit better than what they've been given credit for, in my opinion. They've limited teams well all year. Cal was a struggle, but like I said, I don't know if that really tells the story, is looking at a game like that. What they want to do is they've stopped the run better than they've stopped the pass this year. Their pass defense has been their weakness. And the good news is it feels like Nebraska's passing game is really hitting a stride over the last couple of weeks. They mix a lot of looks, whether that be showing blitz and dropping into a cover 2. And they've created a lot of turnovers off those mixed looks. So I think you're going to get a good fair share of mix of zone and blitz, heavy blitz. I think you can get a lot of zone blitz against Nebraska. But like I said last week, I think the recipe's out on Nebraska to where people are going to want to blitz and they want to get to a Raiola because not only has it been a sack problem, which it really wasn't last week, it turned into a turnover problem where when he was under pressure and he had to scramble or make a play or was getting hit as he threw, he made those interception throws. So I think it's not going to be any different this week. Minnesota's going to rush Raiola, get in his face, and try and force some turnovers because that's what their defense has done and done well all year long. They have tackled really well. They wrap up. We're not going to get as many broken tackles this week. However, on the flip side of things, I think Emmett Johnson has had this one circled since he became the starter at Nebraska. And I think he's going to run through a few people and make some plays this week that are really only stemmed from the true hatred of this program not offering him, hailing from Minneapolis. So he's got a little chip on his shoulder this week, which is going to be awesome to watch as a Nebraska fan. One quick note before we go into their players to highlight here. Aiden Gosby, he's their starting safety. He missed last week on their injury report. I'm not sure if he's back this week. I think PJ Flex said he was questionable today. We'll see, but obviously a big loss on the back half of their defense if he doesn't start. Two guys I want to highlight on the defensive line are shown here On the left, Devin Eastern. He's the captain of this defense. Wears the C on his chest for a reason. This is really the run stopper in this defense. Not stats that jump off the page, but this is main priority one is to get him blocked to free Emmett on pretty much anything because he's in the middle of that defense for a good reason. I mean, I think Emmett's going to get a heavy workload by both wanting it and he's going to get it. So you're going to hear this name quite a few times, and that's Devin Eastern. 18 tackles on the year and only a half a sack. A lot of those tackles have come in, blown up the run on 3rd and short. So look for him in the middle of that defensive line. On the outside of that defensive line, Anthony Smith, one of their edge rushers, 6'6". He's their sack leader on this team. Really big, physical, fast presence. Anthony Smith is a hell of a player. He's got 4.5 sacks on the year, 13 total tackles. I think this is going to be the guy that Minnesota matches up on Elijah Pritchett, who Pritchett, I'm going to give him his flowers. He played a hell of a lot better last week. He's got his hands full this week because here comes a big, fast, another Big Ten defensive lineman that's going to try and get to the blind side of Dylan Raiola. So he's got his hands full this week, and priority number one is getting Anthony Smith blocked off the edge. He's a hell of a player. In the secondary, we got to talk about him, right? Could have talked about him as a wide receiver, but we got to talk about Coy Parrish. The defensive back and now wide receiver combo. Big Ten Travis Hunter, I guess you could call him. 3 catches for 55 yards on the offensive side of things. And then on the flip side, where I think he's a better player, and Minnesota fans would agree, and what he played last year, 35 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pick already this season. Just a hell of an athlete. Like, he's super headsy and kind of finds himself in spots all across the field. It reminds me a lot of a Riley Moss, or that may be giving too many flowers to Riley Moss there, more of a Cooper DeJean, but a Minnesota version of that. He's a really good player, and he's going to be a star in this league. He was an all Big Ten freshman last year, and is, I guess you could say, experiencing a little bit of a sophomore slump compared to his numbers at this point last year, but he's still a good player, and he's having a decent year, and will get better throughout the season. The overall picture for this Minnesota game before we get to our score prediction, because that's what's next. Drop your score prediction below. Chance to win a free No Rivals cap on Play the Fight song. Where do I think Nebraska is going to be? Do I think Nebraska can go into Minneapolis with all the distractions around their head coach leaving the program and having not won back-to-back road games since 2006 as a program? Yeah, I think they do. I think they can. I think they do. I think Minnesota's offense is a much slower pace that's going to benefit Nebraska because of the quarterback play. Thorsby killed us with the quarterback run. Bryce Underwood killed us with the quarterback run. Childs at points killed us with the quarterback run. Good news, Greg Lindsey ain't going to run that thing anywhere near where those guys are. So if we can limit their running backs like majority of teams already have this year, I think we're going to put the Black Shirts in a really good spot. We just have to get off the field on 3rd down a little bit better than what we have. And what will that lead to, you ask? I think that leads to a 27-17 win over the Golden Gophers this week, which I will be in attendance, by the way. I should have said it at the beginning of the show. Wife and I are driving up Friday morning to this game. Should be a ton of fun. I think Nebraska gets it done on the road in this spot. In a rainy spot, I think if we can avoid the turnover bug and really just do the fundamental things well, I think Nebraska can take advantage of a team that's kind of lost on the offensive side of things right now. Well, as long as we don't turn it over. So I think Nebraska can get it done. I think Nebraska's got too many weapons for Minnesota's defense from what they've seen, and they take care of business here. 27-17. I got Nebraska winning on the road. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of this preview. What if I'm right? What if I'm wrong? Drop your score prediction. Let me know what you think on the Rhule situation. But a big-time matchup in Minneapolis this weekend and a chance for Nebraska to get bowl eligible with a lot of football left, which would be nice. It would be nice to have a lot of that sweat off of our back rather than push it to the last couple of games of the year like we did last year. So great opportunity. I think Darius Taylor carries it 25 times or more if you're Minnesota, if that's your recipe to win it. But on the flip side, I think Emmett Johnson's going to carry it 25 times. And the way the season's gone, I'll take Emmett Johnson 9 days out of 8. So Nebraska gets it done in my mind. Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button on this video. Come back next week. We'll recap this matchup. Talk about the next one. As always, I love you. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Go Big Red.